Hey, Foot Clan! Today's episode is brought to you by Squarespace. You can showcase your work or your blog or publish content. You can even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. You can customize everything from the look and feel, settings, and products using beautiful templates created by world-class designers. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code FOOTBALLERS to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. It's the 2018 fantasy football season.
That was my Eagle sound.
Fly, Eagles! Fly.
We are all back. The full trifecta.
The Super Bowl is over.
And it was a great game. Wow.
Oh.
Andy, Mike, and Jason, the fantasy footballers, back once more. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. We are bringing you fantasy football news, information, insight, help you in your league all year long. And
enjoy doing it.
Yeah. I enjoyed beating Mike very much this past year.
You did.
And Mike delivered on his promise. He hand-delivered me a championship ring from fantasychamps.com today in the office.
You're
welcome. I was very surprised that you followed through.
I'm a man of honor.
You said you were tempted to troll me in some fashion.
I was, but I was the bigger man.
And you realized that the ultimate troll would just be me telling you that I won again.
Yeah,
you can't really outdo that.
One thing that I have found out is that it's very difficult to troll the champ. You can't really troll the champ because they've kind of got that card that says I'm the champ. For instance, so Brian Ketron, he was in our listener league this year. He's a loser. Right. I mean,
number one loser.
Right. He lost to me in the
all
championship.
the losers, his losses were the most significant.
Right. So just in general, Brian Ketron is just a gigantic loser.
Right.
Man. To me. However,
sorry, Brian.
He is a Philadelphia Eagles diehard fan. And so today it would be impossible for me to troll him.
Yeah.
Even though he's such a big loser. So congratulations, Brian.
I love the NFL. I love the NFL because you just don't know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. Even when you think you know exactly what's going to happen, it doesn't happen. I mean, that was incredible. So quick question of the day. We have a shocking stats episode. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. We'll talk about some of the news, and then we'll get into the shocking stats from the past year. And these are always really fun episodes because you get to talk about some things that maybe you weren't aware of and the implications, and it'll be a lot of fun. But what was your favorite moment of the Super Bowl? Let's start there.
I have a quote here from head coach, Super Bowl winning head coach Doug Peterson, who says, quote, "You learn if you play passive, if you play conservative. If you call plays conservatively, you are going to be 8-8 and 9-7 every year."
And John Fox goes, "You promise?"
Yeah, John Fox.
I can get to 8-8.
Jeff Fisher. So my favorite moment of the Super Bowl was the drive when it was 4th and short. I can't remember the exact yardage, but they're right in the middle of the field.
Yeah, they're about the 40, their own 45, their own 48,
and game
down
theory,
by a point.
No, game theory says you can go for this because probability says you're going to get a yard as long as you have a good play. But so many coaches in the NFL subscribe to the old man playbook, the get off my lawn playbook. It says no,
the Werther's original playbook.
It doesn't matter. It's 4th down. I have to punt the ball because that's what we have always done.
It's a game of field position.
And Doug Peterson rolled the dice, and they got the first down, and it was a huge, huge deal for the team for winning. I mean, it's a huge swing.
That was your big play.
There was literally combined, both teams, there was one punt in the whole game. I mean, that might be like my favorite part of the game is that there was just nonstop action.
Most yards, most in postseason history.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I would say my favorite moment very similar to you, Mike. It was the 4th and goal from short decision. You know, look, take the field goal, take the free points. It's like, no, you're playing the Patriots. They are going to score on you. You have got to play along. You've got to play bold, and you know they call that passing play to Nick Foles in the end zone. I loved every bit of it when they went for it. I knew right then. I was like, yes, this is exactly what they should be doing. They should not kick. They're that close. You've got to put up 6.
I saw Nick Foles was asked about it, and he's so nonchalant about it. And basically said, "Oh yeah," he's like, "Yeah." I said, "Let's go for it." Like that's your attitude towards this insane, well, it's seemingly insane trick play. Let's do it.
We are in a world
of
statistics and probability and numbers and predictions and betting, and this is the environment that you have. We want everything that we can measure and predict, but you cannot and will never be able to measure and predict momentum and those type of things, like instilling confidence. That Doug Peterson, the MVP of the Super Bowl, you instill confidence.
Your true MVP?
Nick Foles deserves all the credit in the world. I'm just saying Doug Peterson was great. You give your team confidence to play on the level of a 5-time Super Bowl champion by going for it and succeeding. You don't get to measure that. That's not on the back of a football card. But by going for it and succeeding, for the rest of the game, we're here to play. We're able to do this. I think that's what happened. And I picked out the sack fumble play.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately, this game, the way it was going with the insane amount of points and moving up and down the field, I always felt like it was going to come down to who makes the first mistake. And big play. Congrats to Eagles fans. And
I'm wearing my Eagles green today.
We've got the Alshon Jeffrey jersey up on the wall, who, by the way, was incredible. Was there anything? Let's transition for a second. Was there anything fantasy relevant to this game? Anything that gave you, excited? Like Corey Clement had a monster game. All of a sudden, you're saying, Jay Ajayi wasn't used that much. LeGarrette Blount looked very good.
Well, it was pretty even across the board. That's what stood out, and it was the LeGarrette Blount success. Will they bring him back because he is a free agent? For fantasy purposes, we hope he does not come back. We hope that this is Jay Ajayi and Corey Clement, because that would be 2 very usable guys for fantasy football.
Yeah. Limited touches for Deion Lewis in this game. They were playing from behind throughout the game.
Also, give Rex Goathead the ball more. Are you kidding me?
He was very good when he got it.
He was incredible.
All 3 attempts, he was just mind-blowing.
I have
up to 18 total yards.
18 total yards, but you're leaving out his 40-yard reception.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Every time he touched the ball.
These 2 teams, that's the irony here.
Oh, what a game. So smooth.
That was not it. I was using my hands very,
You just grazed the
soundboard, and that was destiny. Kenny G showed up for the Super Bowl analysis show. No, what I was going to say is these 2 teams.
Foreshadowing next year.
There you go. I always joked. I mean, they had the same running back situation where for fantasy it's bad, but for reality they meet in the Super Bowl, and, Burkhead, White, Lewis on the New England side, and then Blount, Ajayi, Clement.
And they both have, probably the number 1 and number 2 tight end in the league. These teams mirror each other quite a bit.
Except for the whole Brady Foles thing.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, Brady Wentz.
Which we should talk about Nick Foles. Moving forward, what does this situation look like?
Just in case you're curious, the laymen out there,
yes,
there's 0.0% chance that Nick Foles is the starting quarterback for the Eagles outside of injury to Carson Wentz.
Correct. The owner called.
I have to say it because I've heard people talk about it.
It's absurd. It's absurd to think that they would not go with Carson Wentz. Mike, you brought it up.
Yes.
At the Super Bowl speech, you're getting the Lombardi Trophy, and he's like, we lost our franchise
owner of the team.
Quarterback.
Any fantasy analyst that would even allude to the possibility of anybody else being the starting quarterback is leading you astray.
It's a silly thing to say. It's just hot takey. But what will happen with Nick Foles? Will the Philadelphia Eagles attempt to trade him? Because there's probably going to be a market for him. Some teams will want him, but you have Carson Wentz coming off an ACL and now they've added in, or the news was recently released, he tore his LCL as well. Is that correct?
Yes, but he was throwing yesterday.
That's great.
They said the recovery
because he
good.
didn't tear his shoulder. He tore his knee.
It'll be a tough decision for Philly. It's whether somebody comes knocking on the door, because they paid a lot of money for Foles as a backup, more than most.
Right.
And if someone comes knocking, you're going to make that trade. You're going to put yourself in that position. But
will you make the trade knowing that there's a possibility Carson Wentz, what if he's not ready till halfway through the season?
That'll be determined by – and that's not a real possibility to them. Everybody expects him to be back by the first of the –
I've read some things.
Well, I haven't. I haven't recently. I've read that he's doing really well.
I keep my sources
Everybody expects
away
him,
from you.
Yeah, okay. Here's what we've learned this season. Jeff Fisher, all of his quarterbacks that he had were great. Nick Foles, Case Keenum, and Jared Goff had wonderful years. One's a Super Bowl MVP.
And here's the thing for Nick Foles. He was great with Chip Kelly. I mean, to be fair, it was a magical season. He had a lot of things bounce his way. I'm not trying to say that he was a superstar, but he played very, very well. Then he goes to Jeff Fisher's team.
Yeah,
and his career implodes. He considers retiring.
So are you asking the question of whether or not?
Yes. Is Nick Foles actually any good?
Yes. I think he has clearly. I mean, you have to if there's ever a day to say yes, let's say it the day after the Super Bowl. When he's the Super Bowl MVP, he put up an otherworldly performance against Minnesota.
Top 5 yards in a Super Bowl performance.
He executed the game plan to perfection. The throw to Jeffrey, the throw to Clement, the fourth down conversion to Ertz off of a rollout left, the catch and executing that play. He got it done.
Yes.
So when you look at the landscape of NFL quarterbacks.
Okay, so
you telling me that Browns wouldn't have rather had Nick Foles all season?
But will he work in their system?
Right. So, for instance,
that's my question. Is he actually good, or is Doug Peterson's offensive system so –
He's not a top 15 quarterback.
If a team like the Arizona Cardinals, who need a quarterback, I don't expect Kirk Cousins to go there, were to make a move.
You were out of town, by the way. I want your top 2 teams for them, because we all said them on the show.
Top 2 teams for Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
Number 1's definitely going to be Denver.
Okay, we all said that.
I think that's where he ends up. Number 2.
Mike took Minnesota. Brooks took the Jets. I took the Cardinals.
I thought you took the Jets, or was that just your third?
I took the Cardinals. Brooks took the Jets.
Brooks is dumb.
I know it has been said that it's not happening, but I'm still going to go with my number 2.
San Francisco?
No, that's awesome. No, I'm going to go with the Browns. The Browns.
Oh, they just offer him so much money that he can't say no?
I just watched – he was interviewed right before the Super Bowl, and he said winning is going to be the number 1 thing for him.
Yeah. He's also said,
he can get paid by any of these other winning franchises.
Yeah, that's why he's not going to the Jets or the Browns.
All right, do you guys want to touch on anything else? Larry Fitzgerald came out. He said he's going to make his decision on playing next year within the next 1 or 2 weeks, which will be ahead of when the Cardinals acquire a quarterback. So he'll get a sense of what the organization is doing and whether they're going to make a push for a player.
He can go talk to general manager Steve Keim and say, who are we going after? And if they lay out a list that Larry
and what if
finds
he says Nick
acceptable,
Foles? Does Larry stay around?
I will weep.
I would assume that Larry would rather play with Nick Foles than an incoming rookie.
Yes. He has a limited window, obviously.
Sure.
All right. Unless you guys have other news, I want to get into the stats.
Let's get into the stats.
How'd you do that? I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
All right, some shocking stats from 2017. If you are like me and one episode of shocking stats is not enough, you can always go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. We have 25 shocking stats articles for every position,
including Jason's favorite
kicker.
We have a kicker article.
Yeah.
The Borgogan.
Yeah.
Kyle the Borgogan.
Do you know how hard it is to get a kicker article onto the internet?
It asks you several times.
Hackers try to take that down quick.
Anonymous came after us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And threats were made.
I even tried to take it down. I've got admin login. I'm like, no.
We had to block Jason.
We had to change the name to Football Pushers.
We had to use a code name.
Yeah. But we're going to get into some of the more interesting ones that we
Football
have.
pushers.
I did,
It's factually correct.
It's
they
factually
push it with
accurate.
a lot of force.
Push it with their foot.
I don't think that you push things with feet.
Really? You've never driven a car before?
You've never done the move where you go, "Hah," and you
never-
shove something with your foot?
You don't drive?
Yeah, I feel like that's kicking.
No.
No?
You kick your pedal in your car?
Ooh, you
I
gently.
step on my pedal.
Oh, you step
You,
on
oh
it.
yeah. Every time you hit the gas, Jason goes knee up,
Uh-huh.
just cranks
It's like
it down.
I'm walking.
It's only in like quick pushes. It's very uncomfortable. All right. Number one, as disappointing as Sammy Watkins was this year, and Mike and I, we talked about Sammy Watkins this past week with the targets in the context of Cooper Kupp's great season, he did lead the Rams with 8 touchdown receptions. Despite the fact Cooper Kupp more than doubled the targets in the red zone, Watkins, look, he's a big-bodied receiver, right? He only had 10 red zone targets. He had 8 touchdowns on the year. Obviously, not all those were inside the red zone. But what do you make of Sammy Watkins, his proposed interest in coming back? And let's say they sign him, and you do have Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins, Cooper Kupp. You're re-rolling what you had last year, Coach of the Year Sean McVay. Watkins is what, Jason, in fantasy football?
I think Watkins next season in 2018 would be a wide receiver 2, which would be much better than what he did this year. And there's
That
several
would be.
reasons. There's several reasons that I think this. Looking into the Sammy trade a little bit more in prep for this show, I basically realized. So if you don't remember, Sammy Watkins was traded after the first week of the preseason. Okay, so he had no training camp.
Moments after our show release.
Yes, he had no training camp.
It's very inconsiderate of him.
No OTAs, nothing gelling already for the offense. He came in and right off the bat was in on the next preseason game, and I think got 2 receptions. If you look at 23 red zone targets to Cooper Kupp, only 10 to Watkins, 13 more red zone targets, but that's not really what is valuable, right? We talk about that all the time. It's those targets inside the 10. And there, Cooper Kupp only had 2 more targets on the season than Watkins. When they got down near the goal line, Watkins was the guy. And we talked about this through the season. There were a lot of just kind of crazy broken plays where it was the wide receiver getting the job done for Jared Goff, as opposed to Carson Wentz, who was a magician near the goal line and finding the guy coming open in the end zone.
I'll buy all that, right? Like if you spend the money on Sammy Watkins to come back, he's part of your game plan. Talent, opportunity, we talk about it. His talent, great. His opportunity should be there. That being said, Cooper Kupp's coming off 62 receptions for 800-plus yards and 5 touchdowns.
As a rookie.
Watkins, 39 for whatever, 500 and something.
Robert Woods is the bigger problem.
The real question is, who would you draft first then? In a full point PPR league, would you
Robert
draft
Woods.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. But would you draft Cooper Kupp or Sammy Watkins?
In a full PPR?
In a full PPR. Based on
full PPR, I'm going to take Cooper Kupp.
As would I.
I'm going to go Watkins.
Yeah,
I think they
you
spread the
love
ball
Watkins.
around enough to where I'd rather have the.
So just to break it down, 4 of Samuel Watkins' touchdowns were inside the 10.
Right.
So they went to him.
All right, let's move on to our next stat here. Adam Thielen. 143 targets. So the
Hashtag he good.
the quarterback, Case Keenum,
Thanks.
he was hooked on a Thielen all year long. That's the most targets for a Vikings wideout in 15 years. They hadn't had one go over 121 since Randy Moss's monster 2003 campaign when he had 172 targets and 17 touchdowns.
Which, congratulations.
That's also
Randy
known
Moss.
as one Sammy Watkins career. That's what that season is. All right, Adam Thielen, 143 targets. Diggs was banged up at times during the season, but Adam Thielen, again, you saw it at the tail end of last year, it translated. And despite Sam Bradford going down, Thielen was always open. That's how I define great hands, always open. Adam Thielen, Stefon Diggs, give me your sense of who you'd be leaning on next year and where you expect them to go in fantasy drafts, because we don't know the quarterback. And if it's Case Keenum coming back, you're going to feel more confident in I think the target share for Thielen and Diggs, but incredible year for Adam Thielen.
Yeah, it is. I really like Thielen. I would take Thielen ahead of Diggs, hands down. He is the number one guy for that team. I think in the drafts they'll go pretty near each other, and I think honestly Adam Thielen will fall. He'll fall in the drafts. We've seen it for multiple years now where people just don't believe that he's going to get the job done. But if you look over the last 2 years, he's had 5 games without Diggs, and if you look at the splits with Diggs and without Diggs in PPR, it's 13.7 points versus 13.8. I mean, they're the same. This isn't Adam Thielen got the job done because Diggs was hobbled or banged up. Adam Thielen got the job done because he is great. We said this 2 years ago, Andy, when we watched, and we were like, oh my gosh, this guy's catching everything. He's flying open. He's fast. He's big. He's so similar.
Great
to
when
Jordy.
The play breaks down. Great, when you're finding a spot for the quarterback to find you when a play's breaking down. So, do you agree with that assessment, Mike? Will you draft him over Diggs?
I don't know.
Diggs has not been able to stay healthy. That's the biggest caveat there.
And that's the
I'm not sure he's more talented than Diggs.
That's the thing that would have me lean towards Adam Thielen if they're very, very close. I mean, I don't want to hedge and say, I'll take the guy who's later. But Stefon Diggs, once he really got back from his injury, you're talking 7 of the last 8 games, including the playoffs, he had at least 5 receptions and touchdown in 4 straight games. Stefon Diggs, the move from they moved Diggs to the outside and Adam Thielen into the slot for a majority of the snaps, which was, towards the beginning of the season a little bit concerning, but it worked out great for both wide receivers. I think that they should be valued very, very close to each other.
What if it was Thielen in the 4th, Diggs in the 5th?
Thielen.
Let's say somebody's got a keeper decision that's
right. Yeah, man, that's
is that right on the line?
Yeah, it's right on the line. I lean.
So if they were both in the 4th, you'd be okay.
I would just throw this out for
Diggs. You're looking for the value there, figuring that maybe this next year is Diggs' year.
Yeah, we know it's granted. Health is a huge concern for Stefon Diggs. Health was a massive concern for one Keenan Allen coming into this season. What I believe and know about Stefon Diggs, if he were to play 16 games at full strength, he will be dominant for fantasy football.
He came back and he was healthy by week 8, and he played essentially the second half of the season, weeks 8 through 16, half of a season. If you were to give him a 16-game pace based on what he did the second half of the season, 73 receptions for 807 yards and 7 touchdowns. Would you be happy with that?
For Diggs?
Yeah.
No,
exactly. 800 yards, 7 touchdowns, 73 receptions. That's not what I'm trying to get in that 4th or 5th round.
No.
I think if Adam Thielen.
Well, what's Adam Thielen's 8 through 16?
Well, I was doing that because of Diggs' health. I mean, Adam Thielen, even on the season, was just great.
Yes, he certainly was, but I don't know. I lean with the talent of Diggs. I'll take my shot.
There you go.
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to drop a stat on me, Jay. If you're looking at 8 through 16 for Thielen.
I wasn't looking at that. The nice thing is
he dropped off in those back.
We don't need to look at those because he played 16.
Well, there's an argument to be made that Diggs' health and being on the field at the same time as Thielen, that would impact how Thielen played in the beginning part of the year when he was dominant, but Diggs was banged up.
Sure. 8.
All right, it's very good.
I've got the answer for you. From 8 to 16, he would have had 85 receptions for 1,328 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I'll
changed my answer.
I'll take Thielen. Oh, wow, that was easy. Hey, before we grab this next shocking stat.
It's hot.
We do want to thank Squarespace. Jason mentioned it to open the show. Squarespace is supporting today's podcast, and I'm going to tell you right now, look, as an entrepreneur, been doing that for 15-plus years, the last thing that you want to do when you are starting your business is get dragged down into the doldrums of trying to figure out how to code a website when there's a company like Squarespace who has it down to a science so that you can launch that passion project, so you can create your online web presence, and so it can stand out and be unique and be easy to administrate, so you're not calling somebody all the time. You can handle this yourself. They have hundreds of templates by world-class designers. They make it easy to turn your idea into a website. You can showcase your work. You can start a blog that you've been wanting to start. You can publish content, whatever, sell products. They make it super, super easy. All mobile optimized out of the box. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, just use the offer code footballers to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or a domain name. That's squarespace.com. The offer code is footballers.
Foot Clan, Valentine's Day is approaching, and that's why I am thankful. Jason, this ad is for you.
I'm listening.
Pro Flowers, Sherry's Berries, they've teamed up. Valentine's Day is done.
So what you're saying
is done. It's going to be so easy for you.
Tell me.
Fellas, they have this box. It's a combo package, a bouquet of flowers and chocolate dipped strawberries in one package together.
Flowers for her, strawberries for me.
What? You do you, man. But look, your flowers and the dipped strawberries will arrive together in a beautiful, specially designed box that will keep your flowers fresh, your berries cold, guaranteed. Easy peasy is done. Right now, our listeners can get 20% off any one of their perfectly paired combinations or any other gift over $29 with the promo code footballers. I've seen this box personally. I've given this box to my wife. Incredible. So for Valentine's Day, it's next week. There's only one way to get 20% off your perfectly paired gift over $29, featuring beautiful blooms from Pro Flowers and freshly dipped strawberries from Sherry's Berries. Visit proflowers.com today. Enter the code footballers at checkout. That's proflowers.com, code footballers.
That's okay, right? Like if she gets the flowers and I eat all the chocolate strawberries?
It's perfectly fine.
How about this? I'll just eat all the chocolate off the strawberries.
You can have the strawberries. I just want the chocolate.
All right, hey, let's talk about this. Mike, you'll love it. Despite finishing 21st in standard leagues, rookie tight end George Kittle, 16 red zone targets, tied with Kyle Rudolph, and only one less than Zach Ertz.
Kittles and bits.
Kittle for next year. We talked about this last week, but that's got to make you feel even more excited about Jimmy G and George Kittle next year.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to the growth of George Kittle. I think that he can emerge as a low-end tight end one next year. I'm not calling for the top 5 yet.
Like a Jack Doyle-esque type of season?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's incredibly athletic. He's going to have a franchise-level quarterback with him. We're doing best ball over on draft already.
Oh, yeah.
And the three of us are in a draft together, and I grabbed George Kittle, and Jason says to me, he's like, "You son of a gun." Took George Kittle because he is a late-round gem.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time that if you want one of the high-level tight ends, you have to pay the premium, and the premium is their sticker shock that I don't want to pay.
George Kittle is a best ball darling.
Yes.
I mean, if you are looking for that week-to-week tight end and he has the opportunity to drop you 2 or 3 huge games, that'd be a nice pickup, and he'd be free.
Yeah, I'm going to need to issue a correction statement here because while I do think George Kittle has some nice talent and you can get him late, I'm not as crazy about George Kittle as you, Mike. And the guy that you actually drafted, this was another best ball that I was upset at. Was Vance McDonald.
Yes, it was
who
Vance
goes
McDonald.
much later than George Kittle, but.
He had
it's interesting
7
to me.
for 83 in a touchdown game. He had a 4 for 100 game to end the year, 3 for 42 in a touchdown the week before that. It'll be interesting to see if he receives enough targets next year.
I think it's about the snaps because if you look at it, it's like he wasn't good. It wasn't good for fantasy.
You say about the snacks?
I wish. It was about the snap percentages for him because I could paint the picture both directions for George Kittle.
But do you believe in the talent then?
I think that he is talented. I'm just not sure that they're going to utilize him in that way. Right now, they had no other pass catchers, and I assume that San Francisco is going to rectify that this
Vance
offseason.
McDonald or George Kittle?
Vance McDonald.
Okay.
It's going to be tough to choose between the two of them.
Check this out. Jarvis Landry is the first receiver in NFL history to have 100-plus receptions, but under 1,000 receiving yards. We've seen that happen with 3 running backs in history, Larry Sinners, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Matt Forte in 2014. But Jarvis Landry, was this just a matter of passing through the air? They trade away Jay Ajayi. They lose Damian Williams. Did I say passing through the
You
air?
definitely said passing through the air.
I guess I meant running through the air. That is the dangerous thing about Jarvis Landry is you get so excited about the 100-plus receptions, but unless you're in a full PPR league, you can be let down by him.
Yeah, and not only that, but he bailed you out this year with a couple touchdowns.
More than a couple.
I'm saying more than what he usually does. Usually he's not a touchdown guy. He's 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
then
that's where I would
9
expect it.
this last year. I would expect that to regress. I would expect next year maybe his yards per reception come up a little bit, which is helpful. If he gets Ryan Tannehill back, I think he'll be in a better situation. But we don't even know if he'll be a Dolphin.
I don't think he's going to be back there.
But wherever he goes, I don't expect him to be up near the 9 touchdown mark.
All right, let me ask you this. Is this a rebound situation? So Marvin Jones this year made fantasy owners happy because he led the league with 18 yards per reception on 107 targets. The league average is 12.9. You look at Marvin Jones' career, his average is 15, and that includes this past year with the 18 average. Years before, 16.9 in 2016. So obviously, once he was brought in to be a starter in Detroit, they're driving the ball down the field with him. 108 targets, 61 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 9 touchdowns. If you told me next year that I was getting 60 for 1,109, I'd be pretty darn happy.
Yeah.
But do you think that'll happen? Do you think that's what you're going to get from Marvin Jones? I mean, we were really disappointed in the way he fell off last year, and he came back this year and proved that he could be a fantasy force.
The thing is, so 18 yards of reception leads the league. The year before, he was at 16.9. So it's not like he went from 13 yards, which that's what he did moving from Cincinnati to Detroit. He went from 12.6 a catch to 16.9, but that's just they used him.
He was a red zone guy in Cincinnati.
Right. He was not the number one running the 9 route with a high frequency with a good quarterback. So I think that it's somewhere, just right between that. And Marvin Jones is where do you think? I'll go with Jason. Where do you think Marvin Jones should be drafted? Will be drafted?
Yeah, where he should be drafted is probably
Is
around
that higher or lower than you feel like his actual ADP would be?
Usually I feel like I've got a really good idea of what the community of football players will do. Marvin Jones could go either way. I could see people just really believing this going into his 3rd year in this system. He got better, this year over we saw some of the
talent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for the word. Is just like what tastes so
potential?
good. Potential is probably
what tastes
closer.
so good?
Yeah,
we saw some of the
pizza.
That's what it was. There we
saw
go. You
some of
nailed
the
it, Mike.
pizza.
We saw some of the pizza in Marvin Jones 2 years ago.
Right.
You said, man, that's a good slice. I just wish I could get a whole pie. And now this last year, you got 8 of the 10 slices, and you're thinking maybe he goes for that full circle.
He's going to upgrade to a meat pizza.
He had a great year. I buy it. Stafford's
it as well.
a franchise quarterback, and I think he'll be underdrafted, making him a great value. My guess is he goes in like the 6th, 7th round, maybe the 8th round, because people don't buy into this.
The 8? What? No.
The only way he
His
goes
ADP today, which I know, it's February 5th. His ADP today is 8-12. I know. You don't believe it. But here's the deal.
Fourth rounder.
Kelvin Benjamin
or Marvin Jones?
Marvin Jones obviously going to go higher than that.
Oh, stop.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Marvin
Jones will go higher than that. What about
if Kirk Cousins is in
Michael
Denver,
Crabtree?
I would.
Assuming he's on
Golden
the Raiders.
Tate.
Yeah, I'll take Marvin over Golden Tate.
I would take Marvin Jones over
Golden let's
Tate
just say he goes in the 6th round. Is that a happy? Are you happy with
That's
that?
a steal because in my head he goes fourth round. Yeah.
The
Allen
nice thing
Robinson
is-
or Marvin Jones next year? Good question right there.
That's a very good question.
Because Marvin Jones, do you remember where he finished, Jason? Do you know where he was?
He's got to be near 12.
700.
10.
Yeah.
The number 10
6, 7, or 8.
wideout. And I buy it. Because if you give me a opportunity, talent, and a franchise quarterback, I'm going to buy into the fact that he can have another successful year. I think he's good for 60-plus and 1,000-plus.
And the smooth routes of Kenny G, they will hurt Marvin Jones' ADP. And I So smooth. But I think that Marvin Jones will be underdrafted.
Now, JBC, Jim Bob Cooter, he's expected to be back. Do you see any effect of this team when Gimli comes in?
Oh, Matt Patricia?
Yes.
Yeah.
My axe.
When Matt Patricia was shown on the sideline all 800 times yesterday,
This was
there's
the best
two things
part.
that happened. One, every single time that happened, we all said,
And my axe.
from Lord of the Rings over and over again. And number two, I kept thinking like Detroit fans, as the score was being rung up, started to like grimace. You know, it's like you took a bite of a sandwich and you're like, oh yeah, this sandwich is so good. The mayo might be sour. The mayo might be spoiled. Oh no, what did we get ourselves into?
Now, did
And my axe.
was he happy or was he sad that Malcolm Butler was benched?
That's
He's
a
sad.
great question.
Of course he's sad.
Well, it was a
Unless
coach.
he made that decision.
Allegedly, Bill Belichick has said this was a coach's decision
Yes.
based off of football play only.
Yes.
So how does your D
I would
coordinator
call it
feel
a
about that?
bad coach's decision based on football play only.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe. That's a curious case.
Yeah. All right. If your last name is Murray, you go down. DeMarco Murray and Latavius Murray averaged 1.4 yards after contact per carry, tied for worst in the league. Next year, you'd rather have which Murray? Who would you rather Murray?
Oh, if I got to pick between the two,
Let's say you're walking down the aisle,
I'll
and
take-
at the end of the aisle, you got to Murray one of them.
got to go DeMarco. You got to go DeMarco because
You got to go DeMarco if he's back on the Titans.
No. I go DeMarco anywhere because Latavius Murray as Dalvin Cook's backup. What does he do better than Dalvin Cook?
Nothing.
Nothing.
What does he do worse?
Bigger.
He's bigger?
Okay.
He's better on the scale than Dalvin Cook is.
But I'm saying, like, you can't go, okay, it's a passing down situation. We got to get Latavius Murray in there. We got to get Cook off the field. Like, no,
He's more of those, like,
he will spell Dalvin Cook when he
who
needs
can hold the water bottle.
when he needs to have a sip of the Gatorade. But so DeMarco Murray,
You know who Latavius is? He's this past year's Jeremy Hill.
don't say that. Jeremy Hill's coming back.
Well, I just mean depth chart. Well, we'll see. I'd have DeMarco, though. Oh, I'd rather have DeMarco. He'll be back.
I think I lean Latavius here.
Really?
The more I think about DeMarco, unless he comes back to the Titans and they foolishly make him the starter again, which, while I think couldn't happen,
I don't think it will.
and I hope it doesn't, but it could. I mean, I think DeMarco's going to have a hard time finding a job. I really, really do. I think that's not to say that he won't wind up on a team somewhere taking, a small paycheck and being promised things, but I feel like DeMarco is done. Latavius looked still good. While they both averaged 1.4 after contact, when those lanes opened up and the contact wasn't there, we did see Latavius,
Yes.
have
we're
a
not
lot
being
of
very
success.
respectful to Latavius Murray there.
Latavius Murray does not create. If the
Murray's a year younger, by the way.
Murray's
Murray?
a year younger. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for
Yeah,
clearing that
you're
up.
welcome. You're welcome. Latavius is.
What? Latavius is only 1 year younger than DeMarco
Yeah, that was
Murray?
surprising.
28
too.
and 29, yeah.
What?
Yeah. I want
Wow.
to get your take on this. Josh McCown, shocking stat, averaged 21.7 fantasy points from weeks 6 to 13. Third best in the league, only behind Russell Wilson and Carson Wentz during that stretch. Josh McCown could be back in New York as a bridge quarterback to whoever they draft. Could end up somewhere else. My question to you is, if he's back in New York or anywhere else, does he become the Brian Hoyer experiment from this past year, where people were excited because Brian Hoyer did the similar things? You know, he started a few games in Chicago, put up great numbers last year, and then all of a sudden everybody wanted to believe in him as a darling, and he just never came to fruition. Or do you think if McCown's back in New York, he's worth a look?
He is on the same team at least. Josh McCown. He's not. He won't be changing teams.
Well, he might be.
I'd say if he stays with the Jets. I thought that
You
was,
mean if he stays with his team, he won't be changing teams?
Brian Hoyer
As a
changed.
fact.
Brian Hoyer was changing teams though.
Right.
So that was my.
Gotcha.
my argument.
So you're saying
against
you
Brian
like
Hoyer.
McCown a lot more if he's back with the Jets specifically.
Correct.
Got it.
But what's going on with that wide receiver situation? Is Quincy Enunwa going to be back from his injury? Is Robbie Anderson going to be back from house
The
arrest?
police department.
I mean, it's a tough situation.
I'll say this.
Are they going to draft a high-level wide receiver?
When the schedule comes out, if Quincy's back, if Robbie Anderson's there, and they bring Josh McCown back, when the schedule comes out, if they've got, they open up the season with the Browns and someone else, I would have no problem taking him as my kind of streaming quarterback based on those
Hoping
first
he
few
hits.
weeks. Yeah, and then I'll know that I'm going to pivot as, when he goes out and kamikazes his helmet into 10 other men.
Matt Ryan's best 2 fantasy weeks were weeks 1 and 17. He was only a quarterback 1 4 times
They call that a turd sandwich.
in
Because the middle of the sandwich was just poop.
2017.
Why are you going to bring Doug Martin into this?
He was a quarterback 1 4 times. He was a quarterback 1 12 times in 2016. So you would say that is 1/3 as many times. And that means he returned value for 0.0% of those that drafted him last year. Matt Ryan, his fantasy reality is somewhere between those 2 years. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, but I think it's closer to what we saw last year than what we saw 2 years ago, because over the course of a very long career, we know who Matt Ryan is. He was an outlier. I felt really stupid week 1 of this past year because I was Mr. Anti-Matt Ryan and saying this is not who he is. He has
Wait,
not
what
leveled
happened?
up.
I turned it off after that. I never watched another game.
And then
Did it not
week
pan
1
out?
comes and he's like, great. And I was like, oh, I told everybody he's going to stink.
I mean, to be fair, I think it's more close to the middle. This was his worst year, passing yardage and passing touchdowns since.
Breaking news.
And my axe.
Is it official?
Matt Patricia was officially hired as the head coach of the Detroit Lions just moments ago. And there you go. Matt Patricia is the new head coach.
Gimli's a lion.
Gimli is a lion.
Who else is he going to bring in his fellowship?
Oh, gosh. I hope Orlando Bloom's not a part of this coaching staff. We don't need him in there.
Matt Ryan.
But I'll take Gandalf. I mean, you got to get Gandalf in the GM chair.
Yeah, Gandalf. Man, can you imagine Gandalf with a goal line stand? I mean, you
shall not pass.
That's what I'm talking about.
No way. You're not getting through that.
So they can run on him?
Oh, no, you can't run on Gandalf. Are you kidding?
You can't pass on him.
Yeah,
No.
you do nothing. But then he goes away halfway through.
Matt Patricia, the official head coach. Congratulations to the Lions.
Matt Ryan had not thrown for fewer than 4,100 yards. He did it this year. He hadn't had that low of a season since 2010. So he's a 4,500-yard passer. That's what he has been for many, many years. Then Steve Sarkisian
I was going
came
to say, Sarkisian's back.
and ruined everything. Get him out of here.
But he
Wow,
got
that was-
out of there.
But he's back.
Yeah, I would say your volume was – you were
Because-
sincere about that.
Because it was a bad hire, and you saw it play out. It was terrible.
That is the exact quote everybody has ever said about Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
At the end of it all, they always say that was a bad hire.
I don't
Get
know,
him out of here.
I don't know the man, but when your offense returns with almost the identical pieces, coming off a season where your quarterback threw almost 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns, you drop him to under 4,100 yards and only 20 touchdowns? I blame him.
Well, okay. By the way, Greg Schiano may become the next defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. I like Greg Schiano, just so you know. So we'll see what happens. I don't have any news as to when this might happen. I know that Bill Belichick is a monster Greg Schiano fan. He's coming to his defense multiple times, and now he's saying, hey, come be my defense.
Clown baby.
All right.
I don't like being so disparaging all the time.
Greg
You just
Schiano
bringing
is
up names I
famous
don't like.
for going for it to the very end.
On the kneel down, trying to cheap shot and sucker punch people.
All right, one more stat, then I want to jump into the mailbag.
All right.
Jamaal Williams rushed for 10 or more yards on 6 of his 153 carries this year.
Not good.
That is the worst of 34 qualified running backs. The league average is just about 10% of the time you go for 10 or more. He
fairness,
went for 6 out of 153 is 3.9% of the time.
In fairness, I think that when most teams were playing against the Brett Hundley-led Green Bay Packers, they didn't even have safeties. They're like, well, you don't need safeties. Just
10
bring
in the box.
Yeah, 10 in the box.
It's tough, though, because he ran for 3.6 on the year, so that's not a number you're proud of
bad.
or excited about. But you're right. There was a situation where, look, you're playing their strength. He was able to catch the ball, 25 receptions on the year. I think he's a guy. This is why one of the reasons I really believe that Ty Montgomery will have an opportunity in that backfield and why Aaron Jones is going to have an opportunity is because look at the recipe for the Super Bowl. You're not loyal to fantasy owners. You're loyal to winning. And winning means rotating running backs sometimes with different skill sets. Jamaal Williams may very well be the goal line guy. Ty Montgomery might see, split time with Aaron Jones between the 20s. I don't know how that's how I would guess it would play out.
Yeah, I think I'm putting my chips. If I'm putting my chips on a Green Bay running back right now, it's Aaron Jones.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Who would you put your chips on, Andy? If you have to draft one,
I would draft Ty Montgomery because I think a healthy Ty Montgomery is going to see snaps. Whether or not Aaron Jones is out there or not, if Randall Cobb's gone, Ty Montgomery slides into the slot a little bit, even though they've made it, he's a running back. I'll put my money on Ty Montgomery.
That's where I land as well.
All right, let's get into the mailbag.
Mailbag.
By the way, I haven't even brought it up because so much was going on, but you can pre-order the Ultimate Draft Kit.
Oh, bury the lead.
At ultimatedraftkit.com. So check it out. You can get it at the early bird price right now through the pre-order season. And if you have a question for the mailbag, we love answering questions. Go ahead and send them to us. Go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button. You can also dial our voicemail hotline. It's called a voicemail. And you can leave us one. And the number is 302-464-TFFB. We're going to start with a voicemail question. And I think it's about Nick Foles.
Hey, you guys. Love the show. I was just wanting to know how you guys feel about Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl, possibly creating a quarterback controversy for Carson Wentz next season. Thanks, you guys. Love the show.
I had not heard that.
Go back to the beginning
of the show. That's why I brought it up.
Yes, it's no. The answer is no. Yes, we have no bananas.
Doug Peterson has already come out and, it was reported that he spoke to Carson Wentz and said, look, I expect you're going to lead us back to this next year. You're going to be the guy to lead us back to the Super Bowl, another Super Bowl win, which they've got all their great players locked up. This team has an opportunity to be something special. It's the NFL, so they're probably not repeating.
Right.
That's the truth. But Carson Wentz is great, and no, there's not a controversy there. Carson Wentz was the NFL MVP at the point where he went down.
Yeah, there's a reason they had the number 1 seed. It didn't play week 1, and it wasn't Nick Foles. It was your young stud superstar franchise quarterback. No controversy.
Well, let's put that to the test. This question comes in from Tyler in Phoenix. He says, is it worth trading Wentz for the 103 in a rookie draft in a dynasty league?
You get the 103? Yes.
I would not do that.
I would trade Wentz immediately for the 103.
I would not.
I would
not do that.
It's
would you
tough
trade
to say
Aaron Rodgers
that,
for the 103?
Probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't do Wentz. Not if I get 10, 12, 15 years of Wentz.
Yeah, I've said this before. I'm a little bit down on 2018 Wentz, but long term, I think he is a true superstar. You bring up, would you trade Aaron Rodgers for the 103? I think Aaron Rodgers and Carson Wentz, when you're talking about a dynasty team,
same value.
They're near each other. Certainly, because you've got more years with Carson Wentz. The amount of time you get from a quarterback, you could have 10 great years.
But your team,
Mike, you have to presume with this question that you don't just have somebody else to rotate in to be a great starter.
If it's my only quarterback, then no.
Okay,
no.
what if you got Alex Smith on your roster?
I probably.
I mean, are you doing that trade? Because you're going to have to make some decision to start somebody.
Obviously, context has to come into question here. But would you trade? Aaron Rodgers, because you brought him up, for Leonard Fournette?
No,
I would.
Yeah,
yes,
I would
and that's
probably do that.
Right.
But he was my one-on-one.
Right, but you saw him going 102 and 103.
Well, would you trade him
drafts.
for McCaffrey right now?
No. I would not trade Aaron Rodgers for McCaffrey.
And again, it's a context thing, and
so
that's what Mike's
that's where the
getting
103. I mean, it's hard to say this with any kind of emphasis before the NFL draft. We don't know where the rookies are going.
I'm breaking down these rookies. I'm already in that process. Then the running backs, yet again, are extremely exciting. Now, landing spot is huge.
So in a vacuum, I wouldn't do it, but in context, it's viable.
Yes.
If you need to do it, it's possible.
It's in context, like our dynasty league. You can potentially play 4 running backs. You only need 1 quarterback. And I've been you're squinting your eyes.
You saw my eyes. I was trying to think who has Carson Wentz in our dynasty league because I'm going to go try to trade for him with my
that's not
my
possible.
first round, but then it's Andy. So
I also have Alex Smith and Nick Foles for that, in case that controversy happens.
But it's like I've been in the championship back-to-back years, and yes, I've lost both times, but So
you're like Brian Ketchum, that loser.
Yes, but I mean, I don't have Carson Wentz. I don't have Aaron Rodgers. I have Jameis Winston and Kirk Cousins, and I make it there because of the depth of the rest of my team.
All right, and you've always kind of played to that philosophy, and it's suited you well. So and that's why I kind of said, is that trade off the table? I don't think it's off the table. That's team-based, but in a vacuum, I wouldn't. You would do it. All right, Travis in Massachusetts. I'm very interested in the UDK, but I play in mainly dynasty leagues. Will this give me enough info on the things I need as a dynasty owner to make it worth it? Love the show. Keep it up.
To make it worth it, yes. As far as to give you every tool you will probably need for a complete dynasty-only rankings, probably not. So I still definitely think it's worth it. We do put out our rookie dynasty, rookie draft rankings, so those will be there. But we don't specifically rank individuals
for dynasty. But there's a lot of format agnostic content: sleepers, breakouts, busts, values. Our rankings are going to translate to some degree.
Descriptions of every player, video breakdowns.
Perception is huge.
Yeah, it's a research tool. I mean, it's not a draft this player, draft that player. We're trying to equip you with an incredible wealth of information to make your picks.
And then, in just a reminder, the UDK launches June 1st every year. But we put out the rookie rankings early for those who have pre-bought because we know that some of you are drafting right after the NFL draft, and we don't want you unequipped without our rookie rankings. So those will be available if you pre-buy.
Now, I don't know where this is. Maybe you do, Jason. But this question comes in from Jacob. It says, in Moore.
Oh, bonjour.
So I don't know where Moore is, but that's your last name.
He's not like a...
Wait a second. Is he running you with like little controls? Is he inside of your body?
I thought maybe a face hugger got you, and we're going to have an alien situation.
Jacob. I was going to say, if that was the case, they probably wouldn't name him Jacob. Hey, Jacob. All right. Love the podcast. Started listening this year. Won my first championship this year. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Question is, who has won the most championships out of you three? I'm sure you have all been playing together for years. So pick the one league you've all been playing in the longest, please. Thanks, guys. Keep up the hard work.
In our league of record,
it's 2-2, the league of record. And if you're
it's
adding
2-2-1.
If you're adding in the dynasty win, then Andy has the most of us now.
And I think it's fair to add that in.
I do too.
So 3-2-1.
However, if you
off.
add in the listener league, it's 3-3-2, and I'm tied with Andy. So
fair point.
All right. Last question. You guys ready? Matt in California, a winner of my fantasy league this season. As winner of my fantasy league. Hashtag Foot Clan title. I have the great pleasure of picking the loser's team name next season.
Ooh.
My brother came in last place this year, which makes my decision even sweeter. He came in last place because he traded Antonio Brown against my advice. Do you have any suggestions on what his team name should be? I was thinking the Antonio Browns. I was about to say you should just name him Antonio Brown. To remind him of the trade, or maybe I should always listen to Matt, could be his team name. Also in the running are the Care Bears and the My Little Ponies. What do you guys think? What is the proper – Mike, you're an expert in all things troll, as is Matt Patricia. He knows how to fight them. What would you say –
He aims for the head.
Yeah. Right.
I'm trying to think of something short and sweet that would be fun to say for the entire league. And so off the top of my head, I'm going with my butt.
Okay.
Because you're like, hey, who you taking on this week? My butt.
That's not bad.
It's childish. It's childish,
but that's how you roll.
Yes.
I'm not 8/10 of what you do is potty humor.
I am not afraid.
It's also 4/5. It's also not as 4/5. I don't know. 8/10.
I am not afraid to go to that 6-year-old humor.
16/20 of what you say.
But then what if you
potty
lose?
Humor?
What if I lose to my butt?
Yeah.
Oh, then I laugh. I still laugh.
You'd say, I had Chipotle.
Yeah. 30. I don't even know how to say it. 32.
Are you still going up?
32/40 of what you say. All right, that is it for the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. We're on YouTube. We'll be here all off season long. And if you want an extra episode, check us out at jointhefoot.com. Thanks for tuning in, and check out draft.com/ballers. Play some best ball with us. We're in a best ball draft right now, and
fly Eagles fly.
It'll be a while to see who wins that.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.